Thank you for joining us. Today's webinar is all about our sojourn through Colombia. We're calling it Colombian Mosaic, and the colors here in the picture will kind of give you a little bit of insight as to why we chose that title. Before I talk about Colombia, just a quick few words about Wheel and Anchor, who we are, what we are all about. We are a Canadian community of travelers from all across the country. Our mission is, as it says here in the middle of the screen, bringing travelers together. What does that mean? Well, when we came up with the idea of Wheel and Anchor a few years back, we have this sort of vision, this idea of if you bring like-minded people together, and when we say like-minded, we're talking about people with a sense of adventure, but also at the same time a sense of mutual respect for the community, for the places that we visit, the culture, and curiosity, and sort of that right blend of what I like to call a soft touch, out traveling the world, and also having a lot of fun. And that is a combination that I think really is reflected by the members that we have at Wheel and Anchor, that we've managed to bring together over the past 5-6 years. We are up to over 10,000 people, from, as I say, from all walks of life and all parts of Canada, and we have a lot of fun on our trips. I've just completed an amazing yoga wellness trip here in Thailand, and we have many more members that are in other parts of the world, in Madeira on liveaways, in Bali in Indonesia, and that's kind of what our philosophy is. And in doing all of that, we have a goal. My personal goal is my life mission is to have people really become well-traveled. The more that we familiarize ourselves with the world, connect with local people, cultures, and just understand a little bit more about humanity, I think the greater of a planet that we will live on. So that's just my philosophy. That's what we do here at Wheel and Anchor. So I will move on right now to introduce our team. And my name is Gordon Drager. I'm the founder of Wheel and Anchor. I curate all of the programs that we offer here, but of course, I have an awesome team of people who help create and deliver the programs. First of all, I'll introduce whose mugshot is not on the screen. That's Elsa. In I think the middle box, this is Elsa Almenara. She is our director of operations and the person who does the tough job of literally ensuring the coordination, all the details of all of our trips. As I say, she's joining us today to share her thoughts about Colombia, having just been there recently. And of course, two of our most important team members as well, Paula and Barb, who's joined us on the webinar today, who are our trip specialists and are ensuring that you get all your questions answered and get you signed up for the trips that you would like to participate in. So good morning as well to Barb.
Morning.
Good morning. Good morning. So today, as usual, we're going to take you on a little journey around Colombia, South America. And I'm going to be your guide together with Elsa, and we are going to show you a little bit what is on offer in this country that has quite a stigma attached to it, given its past. And we're going to dispel some of those myths as we share with you the highlights of this trip. Let's look at a quick map. Here we've got a snippet of Colombia, which of course sits at the northwestern part of the South American continent. Our trip will begin in Bogota, which of course is the capital city, and we'll spend a number of nights there, and then head to the south of the country down to Pereira and the Cocora Valley, which is the famous coffee region of Colombia. Then we'll head up to Medellin, which is now sort of the cultural hotspot and innovation hotspot of the country, and before finishing up in Cartagena, which is the city that's probably most familiar to travelers because, of course, it's been a stop for cruises around the Mediterranean for a long, long time, and is perhaps the most famous of these towns, and also has some incredible history. So we're going to take a look now at the day-by-day itinerary, and Elsa, before we get started talking about Colombia in general and Bogota, the country has as I was saying, it has a very checkered past, and a lot of us, a lot of people, when I mention, the traveling to Colombia, oh my God, isn't that full of cartels and drug lords and and dangerous criminals and all the rest of that kind of stuff. That was the Colombia of 20 years ago. And I can remember the first time I landed in Bogota, which was around a little over 20 years ago, and it was a bit of a dark and scary place. There's no question about it. The country was in the grips of these drug cartels that sort of ruled things. It is amazing what can happen in a country over the span of a couple of decades. And Colombia is an incredible testament to that. If you've followed the media and the news, you'll know that they sort of got the situation under control. They made deals with these gangs and drug lords, and they really cleaned up the act. Particularly noticeable in cities like Bogota, like Medellin, and they have transformed themselves. It's not to say that the problem is completely gone. A lot of it has been pushed far into the jungles of the northwestern part of the country. So there, that activity, the drug trade, certainly still goes on. Anybody that says otherwise is, I think, a little bit in denial. But it's gone away from affecting the mainstream life in Colombia. And in fact, I know that National Geographic and the New York Times have had a number of articles about this being really the new up and coming destination. Not even up and coming. It is the new destination to visit in South America. I traveled there a few years ago, and as I say, Elsa was just there, and I was really blown away by Bogota. I mean, it was literally, I felt like I could move to this place. It had such an amazing atmosphere. Anyway, that is my initial comments, because I know that some people might ask, why would you want to go to Colombia? Well, there's a lot of good reasons, so we're going to get into that now. Elsa, you just were in Bogota not that long ago, and what was your impression? My last visit was a few years back. I was impressed then. How does it feel now? What is life in the city like?
Bogota, hi everyone, and good morning.
Hi.
Bogota is an alive city. It's like city that's full bursting with life, bursting with activities to do. I was staying in one of the neighborhoods called Chapinero, which is a neighborhood that we're going to be staying. I felt safe walking all around it. I was walking even later at 9 to 10 p.m. and I was completely fine. I felt like even as a single female traveler by myself there, I was completely fine there. I was taking Ubers all around the city as well. The hospitality of Colombian people is just remarkable. Like even since you go into the taxi, they talk to you. They wanna, you feel from them that they want people to come and visit Colombia. As you were explaining, Gordon, it's like this idea that we have from the destination from decades ago, and they're just ready to welcome you because not many people are still going. So when they find that somebody's coming, they welcome you with open arms. They explain you the city. Like even an Uber taxi driver was like a fantastic guide of telling me the story. So, and this photo, for example, there is, you'll see on the background, the mountain. So Bogota is surrounded by this big green. I was surprised with how green the city is. And again, we're at 2,600 meters above sea level. So definitely not sea level. So there is definitely some altitude. And the city is also, because of these mountains, it's also a lot of, not a lot, but the streets can be a little uphill and downhill. So when you're walking around, you're going to be facing those a bit. But that's also what makes the city just as beautiful as I remember. I was just in November, and I honestly can't wait to go back. And this is one of the rooftops that, for example, that are there. There are many more. And just you have these amazing views of the city.
Yeah, it's a remarkable place because it is such a blend between sort of modern skyscrapers and buildings, but then you have these wonderful old parts of town, like Chapinero, like La Candelaria, which is areas that we'll visit in the city. The nice thing as well about Colombia, we're going to fly in, and it's basically in the same time zone as Toronto is, which means it's close to all of Canadian time zones. So that's what sort of the big appeal is of South America. And as we know, there's always challenges going on in South America, which is a shame because Canadians by and large have visited a lot more of Europe than our continent, our neighbors immediately to the south. And I think it's opportune time to start thinking about visiting it, and it's just a lot easier because you can fly, for example, from Toronto to Bogota nonstop. For other cities in Canada, you've got to either come to Toronto or you got to fly via a gateway in the US to get down, but it's pretty easy, quick to get there, and there's no jet lag because it's in the same time zone. So we'll show you around as we always do on the first day. We kind of play it a bit chill. We'll have a little icebreaker event on the first day, maybe up on one of those rooftops, so you get a sense of the city, and then the following few days we're going to explore the city. And Elsa, as you mentioned, it's surrounded by mountains. It's all green. And Colombia being famous for its coffee, we're going to go in right away and have some coffee the first morning.
Yes, and right before the first thing that we're going to go to these roasters, which is a project that started in 2017. When I entered there, it was full of it was all local people that were visiting this coffee shop. And what they do is they portray, or they bring small coffee producers, and they use this space, this roastery that they have, to kind of show all of these small producers. So you're going to get a glimpse, and you can also, of course, buy the one that you like, but you're going to get a glimpse of all of these little producers that are there. So yeah, it's going to be like, first thing we're going to do is, of course, we're going to try the coffee. So
we're going to have some coffee just to exactly. And then we're going to head out to we're going to take a little cable car up, and you're going to get the firsthand view of this wide sprawling city that, as Elsa mentioned, is 2,500 meters above sea level. So that's, like a little over 8,000 feet. So it's high. It's not crazy high, but it's definitely high enough that you may feel some effects from the elevation. Generally, we say 10,000 feet is the point at which things can get a bit more challenging. So we're sort of below that level, but we're not going to run around the city. We're going to walk and up here from Monserrate, which is a very cool spot. Where they have a monastery from dating back to the 17th century that is again one of the many examples of sort of the traces of history here that are so amazing. And then I guess we're gonna have an amazing welcome dinner at a Colombian restaurant that you found while you were there.
Yeah, we'll definitely sample some contemporary, like, Colombian cuisine, which is a trend that's happening all South America, just bringing all of these old traditional flavors and into making it something completely new and innovative. So we'll definitely be having that.
We're definitely going to do that. The next day, we're going to take in the historic district, La Candelaria. And this place really left an impression on me when I visited a number of years ago, because in some ways, it's like you're walking through the streets of Europe, the cobblestone streets, the colored houses. It's absolutely charming. This, like many of the parts of central Bogota, is fairly safe.
Yeah, certainly. And I'm just going to stop on this photo because this is what impressed me the most about Candelaria, which is the historical center. It's like any alley that you see, it ends up in these big green mountains. And it was just a geography that I still have tattooed in my head. But anyway, so yeah, walking around there, the good thing about the exploration that we're going to do is that we're going to start in the uphill. So we're just going to make our way down into the side. So we're not going to be going up. We're going to be going down. And it's completely safe. I mean, it's going to be a busy because it's this historical center. A lot of locals and visitors go and visit it. But as long as we, keep like aware of our surroundings and we stick to the group. And again, I was there by myself. Like, it was completely fine.
It's completely fine. And so you'll get a great taste of what Bogota is all about, obviously, like you will in any old town. And then in the afternoon, one of my favorite artists is on the menu, so to speak. I should be careful what I say. Is Botero. I'll talk about that in just a second. Let's talk about the food, because food is always such a big part of our Wheel and Anchor experiences. And so tell us about this experience of street food, because this is what we're going to do today.
So all of these photos have been taken from La Candelaria. And so you're going to see that, for example, on the left, we have these arepas. And I was very surprised of how, like, it reminded me a bit of Mexico, of how fast the food culture is there, of like getting an arepa. Arepa is quintessential Colombia. It's basically like a kind of a fluffy, call it tortilla, made of corn flour, and they stuff it with eggs, sausages, or just cheese, if you will. Then you have like a beverage called chicha, which is a fermented corn beverage that you can buy. I bought like a few bottles of those. They have different colors because of the fruits. Again, Colombia bursts with fruit. The amount of juices that I had and all of these different fruits that I thought I had already tried a lot of fruits, but over there it was overwhelmed, like it was out of this world. And then finally, you just get these obleas, which is also super typical of Colombia. It's a waffle that they put arequipe, which is like a butterscotch cream. So you basically can have like your whole lunch walking, like grabbing an arepa, drinking a chicha, ending for dessert with an oblea. And once again, this is all in Candelaria, and it's like right there, everywhere people are eating. So that's definitely part of what we're going to be seeing on this day as well.
Yeah, this is part of the experience. I think street food in any country, well, maybe not any country, street food in Canada, yeah, maybe nothing to write home about, but certainly in Colombia, you're going to get a sense of the real local flavors, and you know we'll have lots of exposure to that throughout the trip. In the afternoon, I wanted to mention before we're going to visit Botero. And if you've never seen Botero's works, maybe you want to Google it. Fernando Botero. He actually passed away relatively recent, a very famous, probably the most famous Colombian artist, who's best known for his depictions of people of larger mass, let's put it that way. Amazing work, and I've seen some of his exhibits literally all over the world. But this is where he's from, and the museum is really an amazing part of the visit. So we're then going to visit a market on the Sunday. Lots of open air markets in Colombia. I mean, this is again very much part of the culture and tradition. And what sets Usaquén, if I've said that, I probably said it wrong. You'll say it correctly.
Yeah, so on Sundays, there is this area called Usaquén, and it's only going to be like 15 minutes drive from where we're staying. And on Sundays, there's this big open market, as Gordon was saying, and you're going to find probably 100 stalls with all type of crafts. And this is where I also got my earrings. If you see, these are all plated in gold.
Oh, wow.
All of the jewelry in Bogota, also Bogota is very known for emeralds. So if you're into emerald, it's the place to get emerald. And you are also going to find a lot of these bags, which are the Wayu bags. I'm not sure if you can see it very well, but these are all over. And these are all made from the Wayu tribe. This is what women will do. And they sell it there, and it's pretty fantastic. It's a great for you, for people that you love. So we're going to be spending the morning there, and we're also going to have our second coffee experience. We're going to have a few hours with an expert coffee expert that will take us to different coffee spots so that we can taste some coffee, explore the market. And once again, at our leisure, if you want to see the 100 stalls, go see the 100 stalls. If you want to maybe sit and have a coffee and wait around, you can also do that, because that little town of Usaquén is beautiful.
I'm already envisioning how our Wheel and Anchor group is going to go. The guys are going to say, "Come on, let's go hang out and have a coffee," and the women are going to be all over the shopping here, because again, you get such cool stuff. And as Elsa mentioned, it's handmade. It comes from locals. It's really a great day. We're going to drive a little bit outside of Bogota to the north, up to a little town called Zipaquira. And I probably pronounced it wrong. And it's ironic. I was literally just flipping quickly through my Facebook, and a dear friend of mine is in Zipaquira today, oddly enough, in Colombia, and was raving about this town that has some incredible architecture coming back to the 1600s. It's really a charming spot. What the town is most known for, though, is this salt cathedral. So this is literally a converted salt mine that is about 500-600 feet below the surface of the earth, and they have converted this salt mine into a cathedral. An incredible place. I mean, there's nothing really like this anywhere. This is the main reason that we're coming up here to visit this underground cathedral, but also to take in the town. because it really is quite lovely. So we'll have some time there to sort of wander around and explore this the lovely town of Zipaquira before we head back to Bogota. From there, we head down. We fly down to Pereira, which is the airport that's closest to Salento and the coffee region. Different experience altogether because we're out basically in a small rural town. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so we're gonna arrive into the coffee region, and the coffee region has all of these small towns kind of scattered around in this great big valley, and the valley that produces coffee clearly. And Salento is one of these towns that has the most infrastructure and one of the most developed, but once again, it keeps its charm. You see that photo there? That's basically almost all of the streets in the town. It's very colorful, and once again, this town was the safest that I felt as well. The taxi, that our driver, he wouldn't even lock his car at night. Like, I'll tell you that. So once again, we are in the middle of the valley, beautiful town.
Amazing, amazing. And you know, again, that speaks to it, that this is what life is like, you know, particularly you get away from the big cities and, you know, it's even safer. So this area is this province, I guess, is called Quindio, which is part of the cultural landscape that has been designated a UNESCO World Heritage Site because of how well preserved these original coffee plantations are. So, I mean, this is really where it all came from. Colombian coffee is ubiquitous to us, and the landscape that where this is produced is really remarkable. There's a great shot, Elsa, of you in the Cocora Valley. And what I want to point out here, these are palm trees, right?
Yeah. So these are the wax palms. You will see them also on the bills of the Colombian money. And they will have the palms. So this is the Cocora Valley. We're gonna start our day going to this viewpoint. Just you enter the viewpoint, you're surrounded by all of this greenery. It's outstanding. And then if you have it on you, we can walk and go to higher places and see bigger. You can walk as much as you want. If maybe walking is not in the cards for you, you can, there also have like a nice shaded cafe where we can wait. And from there, views are still amazing. So this is how we're going to start our day. We're going to spend a few hours in the Cocora Valley in this viewpoint. And once after from here, we're going to go into a finca. A finca is a Spanish name for a farm estate. So in this one, it's a coffee farm. They produce coffee. And what we are going to do is we're going to do the whole process. Since you plant the plant in the ground until you collect the grains, we'll obviously gonna have some guidance and they're gonna be telling us if we pick the right grains or not. We'll test our skills. And after that, we'll see the whole process and then we're gonna taste some coffee. I actually have the coffee that I brought. I don't know if you can see it from the finca that we're visiting. It's just quality coffee. They will also give you tips about the coffee that you're drinking back home. I stopped drinking the one I was buying regularly because of everything I learned. So it was very informative as well. And once we finish in the finca, we have our dose of coffee, we'll go to another small town similar to Salento called Finlandia, where we're going to have lunch. Once again, they're also going to have lots of different crafts and stalls that we can go and check out. And then that will be the end of the day.
That will be the end of the day. And by the time you finish this day and you really have this exposure to Colombian coffee, I can tell you there'll be no more Maxwell House or Nescafe on your coffee table. Not only coffee, but of course, chocolate is cacao beans, cocoa beans are made in this region. So that'll be our next experience, right? Is to see chocolate. Yeah.
Yes. And we have found a family-run chocolate finca. As I've said, a finca is a farm estate. So this farm dedicates to the grow of cacao. So Gordon, if you click on the next slide, I put some photos. And this is a family run because you're going to be greeted by Jesus, which is on the left. He's the actual owner of this finca. And the name of the finca actually has his two daughters' name, Evelyn and Isabel. So it's called Evelisa. So this is family run all over it. Once we're going to start like walking, he's going to open up the cacao for us. And we're actually going to taste the cacao fruit because believe it or not, it's a fruit before it becomes chocolate. And we are going to eat this white membrane, which is one of the most amazing fruits I've ever tried, and I wish I could try it sooner, but I don't know when will that be. And after that, we are going to go into the whole process with his wife, Carol. We are going to grab the beans, we're going to toast them, we're going to grind them. I'm there, and then we're going to produce like these chocolate bars. That's what they do. And after that, we're going to have Colombian hot chocolate. Now, the Colombian people, Colombians, drink their chocolate with cheese. They put the yellow cheese inside their hot chocolate. That's the photo there. I
There
actually
you
did
go.
it. It was great.
There it is.
So,
There's the cheese.
yeah,
But
yes.
this is the beauty of these kind of experiences, because I tell you, if you told somebody back home in Canada that you're going to put cheese in your hot chocolate, they'd think you crazy. But I suspect that there's good reason for it, and it'll be an exciting experience. We'll leave the coffee region and fly up, take a short flight up to Medellin. And here's a city that I'm particularly excited to bring our members to. And Medellin, again, if we go back 20 years, this was the last place in South America that you'd want to go. I mean, it had a reputation as being like the global headquarters of the cocaine business. Very, very different now. I mean, the city itself is sprawling, it's grown, but it has transformed itself. In fact, we were discussing this a little bit earlier. It was named as South America's cultural capital, or it got a few monikers, and it is considered to be perhaps the most innovative and attractive city in the whole continent, with young people flocking here, nomads, businesses, innovation businesses, IT sprouting up. And the city is really, really miraculous. And not to mention that it's the city of eternal spring. Is that right?
Yes. That is correct.
And why? Because Medellin, as Bogota as well, if you look at it where it is on the map, I mean, you're right down there just north of the equator. So you're in a tropical zone, but because you're high up, you have, the cool air in the mountains. So it basically means that the weather is perfect all the time, all year round. So if that's not a reason to love the place and to want to go and spend more time there, what are we going to see while we're in Medellin?
So the next day, we are gonna we are going to have a half day where we're just gonna have a morning to explore some of the city of Medellin, and then we're gonna go to Comuna 13. So Medellin is divided into 16 different comunas, and the Comuna 13 is the one that it's an example of the remarkable transformation that what Gordon said, from what it was to what it is now. It's a melting pot. It's all of this street art everywhere, and street art that's portraying the life and the culture of this place.
Exactly.
So,
And this was a nasty part of town, right? I mean, originally. And now, yeah, I mean, we're going to walk around it and enjoy it and take in all this amazing street art.
yes.
Yeah. So that will be the sort of
that will be the morning. It will be a half day. We'll have some lunch, and then in the afternoon, obviously our guides are going to give you all of the information that you need, if you whatever you want to see or if you want to go eat. And once again, you have a host with the group at all times, so he or she will be probably making let's go check something out. So the free afternoon, you can explore it at your own device, or you can join whichever host idea he has for the afternoon.
That they may have for the afternoon. And here's the thing, this is a city that is, by and large, for any place that, for sure there's going to be places that maybe are less desirable to visit, but you can walk around just like you would any major city in North America. Not far from Medellin, we're going to make a little day trip up to Guatapé. Guatapé, did I pronounce that right?
Yeah, Guatapé.
Guatapé, which is this lake. Well, you explain it better.
Yeah, so we're gonna travel a little more inland. We're gonna leave the city behind, and we are gonna go into this lake and this town that's called Guatapé. And why are we visiting Guatapé? It's basically the geography that we are going to see. You see that monolith that's there that's called El Peñol, and if you see more closely, you're gonna see those zigzaggy stairs. That obviously, if you're up for it, we can go up. But if not, we can just stay in the bottom. But once again, if we go up all of these stairs at our own pace, you're going to see there's this iconic photo. And I'm sorry that this photo is not making all the justice that it should, but if you Google it, you're going to see all of this lake that it's going to have all of these kind of islets in it.
Yeah.
And it's just a geographic beauty from the region that it's kind of like you cannot not go.
Yeah, it's going to be amazing. And we're going to see who's fit enough to walk up the 742 steps. Otherwise, you can look up and admire it from below. That's okay too.
Yes.
But I think the view will be certainly worth the walk. So this will be a nice little excursion outside of Medellin, and you'll see again the different landscapes here. Mountains not quite as high as they are, for example, in the Cocora Valley, and yeah, just a general, yeah, different side of the country. So after 3 nights in Medellin, we head for the final leg of our trip up to Cartagena, of course, on the Caribbean coast. And, you know, Cartagena is once again, you know, when you look from this picture, it is sort of divided between between a medieval walled city, which is a designated UNESCO World Heritage Site, and then of course the new part of town, which I think you were saying is called Little Miami or New Miami or something.
Yes, the Little Miami.
Exactly.
Yeah. Mhm.
Tell us about your experience of Cartagena.
So if you've seen any photos of the walled city of Cartagena with all of these beautiful, colorful walls and the balconies, that's exactly how Cartagena, the walled city, looks like. This photo is basically captures what like Cartagena is. And as you can see, obviously, all of that is the ocean. And Cartagena was also has a tremendous historical importance because it used to be one of the biggest ports back in the day when the Spaniards came into the South American or well, the American continent. So this is a huge melting pot. And yeah, you can see the distinction about what had been created afterwards. But now, like all of these UNESCO has been kept the way that it is, and they've done a very good job of keeping it that way. Oh, this
Exactly.
photo.
We're staying in this district here, right? Which I always get the pronunciation wrong, so I'll defer to you on that one.
So the walled city is what the
Yeah.
photo was showing, and
Yep.
only around 8 to 10 minutes away, it's this neighborhood called Getsemani. Getsemani used to be, I mean, decades ago, used to be maybe a not a place that you wanted to be, but it's been completely changed up and down, up like flipped. So this is the place that we're gonna stay. And my experience here was that I actually felt like we were staying at a barrio. Barrio means neighborhood. So it felt local. People are outside. You see like older folks like playing chess on the streets. So it really gives you that experience that you are in an authentic kind of neighborhood. And you see all the art, the colors, and at night, the music, anywhere in these alleys that we're gonna be like around our area, it's like blasting with music and salsa. So we'll have a good time. We'll have a good time there.
It's a good time, and you get into that vibe, and as you say, all the music, and that's one of the aspects of Latin America that I love so much, because you know this outdoor culture and parties and just you know everybody getting involved is so cool. So we'll obviously spend we'll have a few days around here. We'll take in all of this very colorful city, and I think you were saying that literally it's like the whole walled city is all these pastel colored buildings. Yeah.
Yes. So we're gonna have a full day kind of exploring the walled city. We're gonna be on our feet a bit, but don't worry because now it's sea level, so there's no altitude, so we can walk more. And we're gonna be walking around. We're gonna be taking all of these, just admiring all of this beauty. And this will be a good day for opportunities to take photos with the palanqueras. Palanqueras are these Afro-Colombian ladies that they dress in typical dresses that were once used, well, centuries ago. And I mean, you've probably seen the iconic photo and they sell fruits on the street. Anyways, it's just iconic Cartagena. And it's one of the things that you have to do and you have to take a photo with them just because their whole persona embodies like the experience there. Anyway, so we're gonna be walking around learning, and then we're gonna have lunch at one of these rooftops. There's so many rooftops there that you're basically gonna see the first photo. We're gonna have some lunch there, and then we're gonna visit because this was a port, some of the forts that played a role in the history back in the time.
Exactly. And we're also going to do some well, we're going to do a lot of food tasting on this trip, as we always do. But we're going to particularly spend a day sampling some of the flavors that are unique to Cartagena. And I think we're going to start out visiting a market on this day, and going from there. Is that right?
Yeah, morning we'll start with a quick market. Again, Cartagena was a port, lots of things were being traded there. So we'll visit a market. We're gonna see learn about the products, and at the end of the journey, we're gonna learn how to do some Colombian classics so that we can take that back home and maybe try to make it at home. But it will be a nice, well-rounded experience, I feel like, at the end of all the journey. And then the rest
And
of the afternoon will be free.
it will be free, exactly, and it'll be lovely to enjoy the final day exploring Cartagena, cramming in some of that last minute shopping, and sampling all the wonderful flavors of Colombia that you'll enjoy on this trip. So, and then that'll be it, and then we'll be at the end of 15 days and ready to make our way back home, or perhaps continue onward elsewhere in Latin America if you're already down there. Just say a couple of words about the hotels we've selected, because I think this is really important before we go into all the logistics. Because part of the reason that Elsa made this trip down was because, we're very particular about the accommodation we stay in. And so you were able to go and check out the places in Bogota and select the ones that are right for our Wheel and Anchor members. How would you describe them?
Yeah, so the hotel that we'll stay in Bogota is the capital, is a city, so it's more like business oriented. We're gonna be staying in this area called Chapinero. The hotel is like literally in a street that's full of very good dining restaurants, a lot of coffees. If you've heard about Juan Valdez, 2 blocks away, it's like the original Juan Valdez is right there. So we're very well positioned. You're gonna be 5 minutes away from finding your dinner, if it's a dinner at leisure, or finding a coffee for an afternoon coffee. So, and the hotel, they all have elevators, especially the one in Bogota. The only remark is that the one, yeah, no, they all have elevators. Now, moving on into Salento, when I went there, I noticed that Salento, as I've said, it's a very uphilly, downhilly. So it's very critical where you want to stay, because if you stay in certain areas, then it takes you a while. And anyway, so I selected a hotel that's going to be 2 blocks away, 3 blocks away from the plaza and the main street, the Real Street, where it's all the shops and whatnot, all the crafts. And it's still going to be a little uphill and downhill, but it's a block and a half. And that's, I think.
But you're in the center. It's quaint. It's a lovely boutique
Yes.
hotel. I mean,
Yes.
it's sort of quintessential. And that's
Yes.
kind of, that's the philosophy that we always go for. I mean,
Mhm.
I compare, the kind of places that we're looking at to what sort of the usual tour groups do. And they often tend to stay outside of town, at bigger hotels and so on. But you don't have the ability then to sort of have the time to access, those things in downtown. And in Cartagena as well, as you mentioned, we're staying in Getsemani at another lovely place. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a boutique hotel as well in Getsemani. And yeah, it's a top-notch hotel as well. We're going to be very well located, and I think it'll be the best end of the journey.
Yeah, exactly. So we've picked out some lovely accommodations along the way. And as I say, other than in Medellin, which you didn't get to, but all the other cities, we visited them.
In Medellin, I did visit the sister hotel in Bogota. So we're staying at the sister hotel in Medellin, and I was completely impressed by the one in Bogota. Obviously, the other one win because of the charm. So in Medellin, I'm 100% confident that we're staying same level.
We've got a great spot picked out. So this program, all the details, of course, are in your program itinerary, which if you haven't already looked at it, we'll send you another copy together with a replay of this webinar. This program will be next February, so just exactly a year from now. I think very well priced, 69.90 Canadian, with a lot of inclusion. So all of your domestic flights that we have on here, there's 3 of them, are included in the program. Of course, your 14 nights accommodation in these lovely boutique hotels that Elsa just described, all the sightseeing. We've got a great local partner that we work with that have the great guides, a lot of fun, some excellent meals along the way. I think overall it's a pretty excellent itinerary. Yeah, as usual with all of our trips, we just have to arrange for you your airfare and the trip cancellation and medical insurance, which is obviously critical in this day and age. If you sign up for this trip early, we have had a lot of indication of interest for this trip, which has been kind of long awaited. I've been touting it with a number of different members. So if you do sign up early, we give you a couple of $100, which is passed on to us by the hotels when we make our reservations early enough. We can negotiate a bit of a better deal. So we want to pass that on to you. So sign up early and get a spot. Because as I say, this we anticipate a group size of around 16, but definitely no more than 18 people on this trip. Isn't that right, Elsa? And so yeah, once it's sold, it's sold. Time for any questions, but of course, as often happens in these situations, the question that you pops into your mind a minute after what the webinar ends. But of course, Paula and Barbara are always there to answer your questions and make sure that you are fully prepared to join this trip. But I'll take a few questions that have come in now. Barb, let us know what some of our members are asking.
Yeah, can you go over the weather for February timeframe?
Yeah, for sure. Elsa, do you want to speak to the weather, or do you want me to speak to the weather?
So, well, definitely February is going to be the summer season, right? Because of we're in the southern hemisphere. Yes, Bogota is going to have a different weather than the coffee region, and then Cartagena, which Cartagena is almost in the tropical right side of the world. So it's going to be a little bit more humid down there, a little bit like sticky. But other than that, Bogota and the coffee region, even though it's going to be summer because of the altitude and the mountains, it's going to keep it cool. Obviously, at the middle of the day, we might be reaching the high 20s, but it will drop off as the day in the evenings and early mornings.
One thing we can say for sure, it's going to be a lot warmer than it is in Canada.
Oh, yeah.
It's it's definitely cooler in the evenings in the mountains, but when we say cool, it probably won't even drop to the single digits. I mean, it'll be it'll be in the sort of 10 to 15 degrees. So as far as I'm concerned, it's perfect traveling weather, but maybe a little bit on the warm side up in Cartagena.
Okay, great. What would be the group size that we're taking on this one?
So we have a maximum group size of 18 people. So what we'll end up with, well, I fully imagine that this trip is going to be quite popular, given that it's a new one for us, and a lot of people have been waiting it. So probably it'll be around 16 to 18 people, but not more. We will cap it at 18, as we always do for this kind of experience.
Okay, perfect. And there's a question about money with all the sort of markets and food stuff, and we are getting more used to cash lists. What's the best recommendations for money?
Yeah, so in Bogota, even when I got my earrings and my bags and all that, I was able to pay with card. The stalls, they all have like little POS machines. So card is widely accepted. We always recommend Wise, which is a form of like an online bank, and you can get a card and you can put money in there and then you can take money out. Then in the coffee region, for instance, even I was there buying the coffee or the chocolate, I could pay with card as well. So definitely card is widely used, but cash would also be recommended to have just some.
Take a little bit of cash.
Yeah.
For those small purchases, if you're actually buying a coffee, which in Colombia costs next to nothing, then you'd rather pay for it with a local few bills. But like most of the world, plastic goes a long way.
Okay, and one other question, just if people have any dietary requirements, are they able to handle most dietary requirements there?
Elsa, what are your thoughts?
Well, definitely, I mean, we try to accommodate. However, it would be hard to guarantee that if it's a very restrictive diet, if you have some sort of like a gluten allergy or something that could be hazardous to your health. We do have some policies with regards to these food regulations that I'm sure Paula and Barb can share with you after. We will try our best, and I'm sure that, Paula and Barb will give you more information on that.
Yeah, I mean, we can have a conversation about it and then go from there.
Exactly. You know, if you're vegetarian, you know, it's one thing we can absolutely accommodate, you know, sort of the main sort of food things. But when you travel to places like this, particularly more into the rural areas, you know, for those that, you know, for example, are face celiac disease or something like that, it is a little bit more difficult. Well, it's a lot more difficult for us to ensure that you'll get. So it's best to have a conversation. But for most allergies, most people will have absolutely no problem, and we can accommodate those requests. So not a problem.
Perfect. Those are the questions that have come in. So if people have other questions, then they can definitely reach out to Paul and myself. And as always, any trip you're interested in, we do have an additional information document. So if anybody's interested, let us know. We'll send that additional information document over to you along with that main program itinerary.
Exactly. And yes, I think you put in the chat box, Barb, about our next upcoming webinar. So first of all, thank you for joining us on our Colombia webinar today. I think it's an amazing trip. It's an amazing country to visit. So I hope you'll consider joining us next year. Next week, I'm going to be sharing, for those of you who may not have made spring plans yet, I'm going to share with you our spring trip overview for the trips where we have a few spots left over in case you are still thinking of getting away for the spring. So join us for that next week on the 22nd, and we'll talk about some of our trips that are coming up this next spring. So Elsa, thank you very much for your contribution, which was brilliant, because I think it's great to get a firsthand, fresh impression of the country. You've done a brilliant job about that. So that's greatly appreciated. And Barb, thank you for your participation as well. And of course, to our members for having joined us. Look forward to seeing you on another webinar sometime soon. So take care and have yourselves a great rest of the day.